known Shon Kokoszka for decades, and he's been my coach. He's been a leader. He's been a mentor. He's been extremely successful, not only in his personal life, but also in his real estate production when he first got rolling. And then he led that to building a team and then also coaching. So, Shon, share a little bit more about yourself, and then let's just jump right into our content today.
Got it, guys. Well, first off, it's not about me, especially today. It's not about me. It's really about you. It's about improving your production. That's my purpose. That's my why. And ideally, you're going to hear something today that really sparks something inside of you that's going to get you to take massive, and I mean appropriate and aggressive action for 2025. As Tom said, the vision here is you guys thrive in 2025. Now, you can't do that without a rock solid foundation. And there's four categories that make up the strength, the depth, the width, the amount of rebar within your foundation. It's your knowledge, knowing what to do, knowing what to say. And this is the part that I love about real estate sales. With mere words, you guys, you can make over $1 million a year selling real estate, just knowing what to say. Then it's about your skills. So it's knowledge first, then your skills. So you got to know how to do it and how to say it. Then, beyond that, it's your mindset is point number 3. So if you focus on your knowledge and your skills, it improves your competence, leads to a higher level of confidence, and it dramatically impacts your mindset. And then the fourth is your habits. Now, I could talk to you for the next 3 hours about habit formation, and I'll just sum it up with a very simple phrase. And that is, the key to extraordinary success is to identify activities that are worth building habits around, and then consciously applying discipline to those activities to the point of what I now call automaticity, where when you show up to work, this is something you just do. Like I said, I could go on for the next 3, 5, 10 hours about why habits are so critically important. That's not what today's about. What I do want to talk to you about today is how to win the listing every time you get the opportunity. When you're at bat, you've got a listing appointment. Again, knowledge, got to know what to do, got to know what to say. Skills, you got to know how to do it and how to say it. That impacts your mindset. Guys, my last year in production, I went on 162 listing appointments personally, and I took 160 of those listings. So what I'm going to share with you today is a high conversion percentage listing presentation, which might be a little bit different than what you might expect. See, most realtors think a listing presentation is all about your marketing plan, everything you're going to do on behalf of that potential seller to get their property sold quickly for top dollar. And I'm here to tell you it's not about your marketing plan. It truly isn't. It's about their motivation. See, logic makes them think, yet emotion makes them act. So I did want to start with a very powerful question today. See, I think when you're asked the right question, then you can determine the right answer. And the power of the answer is determined by the power of the question. And here's a really powerful question. That is, what is not being done in your business right now that if it were being done would have a dramatic impact on your results? And I want to hear from a couple of you. I don't want to voluntold, I want to volunteer. What is not being done in your business right now that if it were being done, it would dramatically improve your results? Somebody share with me.
Come on, rapid fire. Let's go. We don't have much time.
Hey, real quick, I think it's appropriate, Tom. I'm going to introduce them to somebody that showed up to the call today that I asked not to show up, and they show up everywhere I go, though. It's MIC, M-I-C. It's an acronym. It stands for My Inner Cynic, and we all have one. See, think about it. When I asked you for a volunteer, what did Mick say to you? It's this internal dialogue, this internal voice that we all have. What did Mick say?
Don't say anything.
Don't say anything. Don't you dare open your mouth. You might look stupid. Now, Mick has a very important job. That's to protect your precious little ego, right? Mick wants you to look good. Mick wants you to be right. And Mick wants you to stay inside your comfort zone. Yet I'm here to tell you everything that you want out of life, it exists outside of your comfort zone. So who's willing to push Mick aside and just volunteer with me? Tell me what's not being done in your business right now that if it were being done at a high level would dramatically impact your results. Talk to me.
Social media. Go off the curb. Time blocking, prioritizing.
Time blocking, prioritizing. I love that. I heard somebody else say social media. And maybe that's your passion. You want to gain business through social media marketing, which absolutely can be done. There's no doubt about that. Yet, I want you to ask yourself, what's holding you back? Seriously, what is holding you back? There's got to be some limiting belief there that's stopping you from taking the appropriate aggressive action that you need to take. Now, in all cases, there's some payoff to not taking action. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes.
So you think about that. What do you gain by not time blocking? Talk to me. What do you gain?
Nothing.
Well, you say nothing, yet there is something that we gain. Even with every limiting belief, there's something you gain. Otherwise, you wouldn't adhere to the limiting belief. You guys with me on this, right? See, by not time blocking, well, what I gain is freedom, flexibility. And that's two of the three reasons realtors get into this business to begin with. Number one is freedom. Do what you want when you want. Oh, you want to go golfing Friday afternoon? Sure, I'll clear my schedule. Let's go. Freedom, right? Flexibility. The nurse calls you from the school. Your child is sick. You have to drive over and pick them up. Thank God I'm a realtor. I don't have a boss. I can be flexible. Yes. And the third reason is financial wealth. Now, here's the challenge. Most people choose freedom and flexibility first, and they never get around to financial wealth. So what you gain by not time blocking, adhering to your time block schedule, is freedom and flexibility. Do what you want when you want, this feeling of autonomy. Now, what do you lose by not time blocking? What do you lose by not time blocking?
Financial freedom.
There you go. Financial
Control.
freedom.
Control.
Control. Now, these words, they almost sound like an oxymoron, like they don't belong in the same sentence, yet discipline creates freedom, flexibility, and financial wealth. The more disciplined you are, the more freedom you have. Now, it's not discipline in all things. It's simply the discipline in 5 things. That's it. Just a handful of things, guys. And I'll give it to you real quick. These are the only 5 things that are going to move the needle for your production in 2025. And those of you who can give an inordinate amount of your time to these 5 things, you're the ones that are going to double, triple, maybe even quadruple your production over 2024 if that's what you choose to do. Now, the first thing is practice. Practice. You got to know what to say. You got to know how to say it. Then you've got to say it to enough people. So then it's about lead generation. This is your proactive outreach, putting your ego at risk a little bit. The third is lead follow-up and conversion. Now, those 3 things to me are AM activities. Do it when your willpower is as high as it can be, which means don't schedule inspections, final walkthroughs, or even closings in the AM hours of the day, because those AM hours are precious hours. Practice, lead gen, lead follow-up. Then at 12 o'clock, I don't give a shit what you do. Quite honestly, I don't, because you've done the most important tasks of the day, which lead to the next 2 things that deserve your time. That's going on appointments and negotiating contracts. Those 5 things, you guys, those are the only things that are going to improve your production. I see, Don, you've been very patient. If you see your hand up, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on your point about the time blocking and the discipline, or the freedom that we get from that discipline. And I would just add that what I have found is that when I time block, I will intentionally time block the things that matter most, right? You know, you don't time block, I'm going to screw off, watch TV, right?
Yeah.
That somehow fits in the schedule anyway. But you time block the thing, you know, you get the big rocks in there. So I think it's a discipline, but it's also an intention, and it's a focus on the things that really matter. And if you get the things, like you said, that really matter done in that first part of the day, then actually you can screw off in the afternoon.
That's exactly right. I mean, at 12 o'clock, guys, I don't care if you go sit on the couch at home and binge watch your favorite show on Netflix. Yet the simple truth is you won't have time to do that, because you'll have more appointments and more contracts to negotiate, which are PM activities. Heck, at 12 o'clock, become a distraction to anybody and everybody else. It doesn't matter what you do after 12 o'clock. Your schedule will be filled. Now, as it relates to time blocking, I'm gonna, and by the way, I collaborated with Gary in the writing of the book, The One Thing, which you choose to invest in your work life. And we did a ton of research around not only habit formation, yet willpower, which is critical. That's why I say do those first 3 things in the AM hours when your willpower is the size it's going to get. Because when your willpower is depleted, you go back to your default settings. And for most of us, the default setting is, well, I'll just do that tomorrow. I don't feel like doing that today, right? So knock it out first thing in the morning. The mistake I made when I started time blocking, see, I read this book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People when I was 18 years old. And I understood the quadrants of time management that Stephen Covey outlines in the book. And I decided that I was going to build a time block schedule. And I time blocked literally every minute of the day. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. And I attempted to work this time block schedule for 5 years. Huge mistake because I was just simply setting myself up for disappointment. So rather what I started doing, and here's where the maturity kind of kicked in, the wisdom kicked in, and the research backs it all up, is to only time block the AM hours of the day with, as Don said, with the big rocks, the most important tasks of the day. And I'm here to tell you, if you want to improve your production, you're going to need more appointments. How many of you guys want more appointments, by the way? Show me your hands if you want more appointments. Come on.
Yes.
We all want more appointments. So in order to create more appointments, all you have to do is create more conversations. Now, to create more conversations, you time block that time and you stay focused during the time block. If you're not setting enough appointments, you're just simply not creating enough conversations. Even a salesperson without a ton of skill, if they talk to enough people, they're going to set more appointments. Now, obviously, we want more contracts. So to get more contracts, you need more appointments, which means you need to create more conversations. We all want more money in our bank account, improving our net worth, bank account balance, being able to provide for ourselves and our loved ones at a very high level. So we want more money, which means we need more contracts, which means we need more appointments. The one thing in your control is how many conversations you create. And if I could give you an answer to that question that I started with, what is not being done in your business, that if it were being done at a very high level, it would have a massive impact on your production. It would be to create more conversations, to time block the time. Now, as you create more conversations, you're going to set listing appointments. Now, I'd hate to see an agent go into a listing appointment wondering, gee, what's going to come out of my mouth today? And I hope it's good. Because we've all had that perfect listing appointment. And what came out of your mouth was just so sweet. It was perfect. You had rebuttals for every objection. You walk out of there with a signed listing contract. Man, you're feeling pretty smug, aren't you? At the same time, there's this little voice in the back of your head saying, can you do it again next time? So to systemize your listing presentation, you can get a consistent and predictable result. Do it the same way each and every time, modified only for the dominant behavior style of your prospect, and then you get that consistency in your business. Now, I've split tested this presentation to the moon and back. I've gone through at least 1,000 different iterations of the presentation I'm about to give you. And it could still be improved. There's no doubt about that. It's been said that the largest room in the world or the universe is the room for improvement. So you're going to find some things that you'd like to do differently, and that's okay. Take the parts that you like, leave the parts that you don't. Yeah, let's get into the listing presentation because I want to be sure to get this across the goal line for you. Now, one of the things I would encourage you to do, if you're not already, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's okay,
Sure.
is to leverage a pre-listing questionnaire. How many of you guys are asking questions of your seller that qualify the appointment prior to you just running out the door, you know, after doing all your research to give a listing presentation? Anybody pre-qualifying? Okay, I encourage you to do that. Now, I've identified 24 questions that need to be asked. I'm not going to go through all 24. Yet I'm going to give you a couple that I think need to be asked. And I'm only picking these out because these are the ones that agents push back on me. For example, one of those questions should be, have you considered selling your house on your own before you might list with a realtor? Now, why would you want to know that before the listing appointment? See, I guarantee you every for sale by owner in your market area talked to at least 2 realtors before they listed for sale by owner. Why? They want to get a price opinion from the professional before they list it for sale on the open market. So they talk to an agent before. Now, when do you want to know that? Do you want to know it a couple of days after your listing appointment when you see for sale by owner sign go in the front yard? Or do you want to know it before the presentation? Well, my input is know it before. Then you can modify your presentation and start with what I call a problem presentation before you get into the listing presentation. You're going to sell against going for sale by owner in the case that they say, yeah, we're considering selling it all on our own. By the way, the next question that a lot of realtors push back on me is, are you interviewing more than one agent for the job of selling your house? They say, well, Shon, I would never ask that question. I said, why not? He said, well, aren't I just planting the seed in their mind that they should interview more than one agent? Well, again, when do you want to know? Do you want to know, during the listing presentation, after the listing presentation, when you see another realtor sign goes in the front yard, or do you want to know beforehand? Now, see, if you know beforehand, they say, yeah, we're going to interview 3 agents for the job. You have a choice. You could request that you either go first or request that you go last. And let's create a brief discussion around this. Which would you prefer? Do you want to go first? Do you want to go last?
I want to go first.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, because that will be their last.
Tom, I love it. That is so powerful. And by the way, let's say you get to the close and it's time for them to sign the contract, or maybe you have a 1-page commitment to sell with you that you have them sign at the listing presentation, which I encourage, by the way. If we have time, I'll share my screen and I'll show you what that looks like. Yet, why do you want to go first, and how do you sell against the other agents and take the listing right then and there, Tom?
Well, obviously, always start off with the pre-listing questionnaire, so I'm prepared, and then do my needs analysis and get to their emotion, because facts tell and emotions sell. So get to their motivation, find out why, and just really get them to know me, like me, and trust me. And then obviously do our value proposition, and then just bring it back, and then just close and have them sign, because they will realize that their choice with me is the best, because I would really hate for them to have a weak moment and get in the hands of a weak agent.
I love it, Tom. That is a powerful phrase, guys. Write that down. I don't want to see you end up with a weak agent in a weak moment. Now, at this point and here's my script, at this point of our discussion, when somebody says that they want to interview a couple of other agents, they do that because maybe they've already set the appointment and they feel bad canceling on the other agent. Is that possibly the case here? So yeah, I'd feel bad if I canceled. Well, I've done this for many other clients in the past where, I want to save the other agent's time. Like, I've already invested time away from my family, putting together all the information about your property. I want to save the time for those agents. And I'd be more than happy to just give them a call, tell them that you were excited to meet with them, and yet they decided to list with me. And if they brought us a buyer, that we'll split the commission with them 50-50. I can do it right from the table here if you'd like. So tell me, who is it that you were going to interview? And I'll just call them right from the table and cancel their listing appointment. By the way, there's not many more things that are more self-gratifying than calling one of your competitors to cancel their listing appointment, because you've taken the listing. You guys with me on that, right? It's a lot of fun. Now, the other school of thought is you go last. Now, many of you would prefer to go last because, and by the way, don't be in the middle. We always remember the first. We always remember the last. Like, you could remember the first car you owned, right? You can certainly, what car you own right now. Now, can you tell me the third car you owned? I couldn't tell you even if I tried. We tend to remember the first and the last, yes? So if you're gonna be last, it's important, because you may have a competitor like Tom Daves who's gonna hard close them right in that first appointment, to nail it down as tight as you can. Well, Mr. and Ms. Seller, with your permission, I'd like to go last, and let me tell you why. We do so many more things for our clients than the average agent does in our market area, that I want you to be able to do an apples to apples comparison. What you're going to find, it's not apples to apples, it's like apples to lemons. So I need your solemn swear, your promise, that when these agents come in using high pressure tactics, list with me, I'll call them to cancel the appointment, whatever they say, or I'll reduce my commission if you sign right now. You have to promise me that you won't list with anybody until you at least hear what I have to say. Do we have a deal? See, most people want to stay true to their word. And while it's still going to happen that they cancel the appointment on you because they listed with the first agent, at least you're nailing it down as tight as you can. Yes? All right, good. Well, let's move into the listing presentation. One of my clients, Mark Spain, by the way, he closed 8,800 transactions last year alone, by the way. This guy understands leverage. And he said his biggest aha in the real estate business, you got to list to last. Listings are leverage. You could put a sign in somebody's front yard. Every realtor in your local board has now aligned with you as a team member to get this property sold with you for you. You can go sit on a beach, still make money. Now, here's my presentation. It was done on PowerPoint with my laptop or a tablet. And I wanted to systemize it so the other agents on my team could just very simply adhere to the system, stay true to the system, and stay on track. So I'd open up my screen. The first slide that oh, by the way, that was the cover of their workbook. Let me back up. So I gave them a workbook, and you can see here it's fill in the blank. The first is a seller survey. Then it's fill in the blank for the presentation. So as I go through the presentation, it engages them. They fill in the blanks as we go through it. And then, we talk about calculating their bottom line, give them a net sheet, 47 easy ways to make their home sell faster. How we're going to market the property is the last. Going through you get the point. Fill in the blank. I give them a workbook. They fill in the blanks. So this was the first slide that they would see. It's a seller survey. And it would say, as your realtor tours your house, please take a moment and complete the seller survey. Your realtor will complete a walkthrough of the property, viewing the house through a buyer's eyes. You and your realtor will complete a walkthrough together at a later time to create a list of features to highlight in the marketing of your house. So this is the first slide they see. I would give them the seller survey, ask them to complete the seller survey as I toured their property all by myself. Now, why would I do that? Why is that important? Talk to me, guys.
Because it's very distracting when they tell you a life story about every room in the house, and then you feel weird about saying you got to change that paint color or something because they told a whole story about how that was important to their baby or something.
I love it, Stephanie, and you're exactly right. As they're touring you through the property, number one, it takes forever. When I first started going on listing presentations, I allowed them to tour me through the property. I had some of those tours take over an hour. Over an hour. I can tour a home just like you in 5 minutes. So number one, it saves time. Number two, and most importantly, as the seller's touring you through the property, they're pointing out what? What are they pointing out? They're pointing out all of the upgrades, all of the remodel projects that they've been through. And what they're doing psychologically is they're justifying a higher price in their mind. Now, we do recognize that the only reason a listing expires from the multiple listing service is what?
Price.
Price. It's overpriced. So if you start out by letting them justify a higher price, not only in their mind, they're also influencing you in your mind. If you take an overpriced listing, chances are it's going to sit on the market, and or you're fighting with the seller nonstop, asking for price improvements. We don't want that. We want the property to sell quickly for top dollar. No doubt about that. So I toured the property all on my own. I'd write down a couple of notes. I'd come back, I'd compliment them on this, that, and the other thing. And then I would ask a few questions, and then we would dive into the presentation. Again, it's fill in the blank. So on the first page, it says, and by the way, every time you see a word fly in on the screen, they would fill in the blank in their workbook. Again, what it does is it engages them in this process. It's not me just spewing information all over them and it's going in one ear and out the other. No, they're actually writing things down. So Mr. and Ms. Seller, as you see words fly in, I want you to fill in the appropriate blank in your workbook, and then you'll have a powerful lead behind if you have any questions. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to review your motivation. Go ahead and fill in the blank motivation to sell and agree on a price that will cause it to sell. So go ahead and fill in the blank for me. Then I'm going to take a couple of moments. We'll answer any questions that you may have, and we'll decide today whether you want to work with me, and I'll decide whether or not I want to take your listing. Fair enough? So what I'm doing is I'm playing the takeaway game. I might not even want to sell your house. You guys with me? So 3 critical questions. Number 1, do you really want to sell your house? Let them elaborate. Are you willing to price your house to sell, or do you want it to sit on the market month after month after month? And finally, do you want me to sell it for you? Now, guys, we learned from the National Association of Realtors over 80% of potential sellers only interview one agent for the job of selling their house. Now, about 85% of the time, you're going to get a yes right here. You're in and out with a signed 1-page commitment to sell or a signed listing contract before you know it. So real quick, I just want to review your goals. Number one, where are you moving to? When do you need to be there? This is the most powerful question you could ask. What's important to you about that? This is where you get to the emotional side of the equation. As Tom said, guys, logic makes them think, emotion makes them act, and you're going to leverage that emotion to take the listing. So ultimately, what will all of that do for you, do for your family? Let's get deep into that. I spend most of my time on a listing presentation on these 4 questions because when they can see the ability to accomplish their goals by working with me, then it's a no-brainer. Now, I'm going to give you the script. This is not part of my slide deck, okay? And I'd say it exactly like this. Now, Mr. and Ms. Seller, there are 2 things that I'm looking forward to discussing with you today. One of which is a pricing strategy to determine the price that your house will realistically expect to fetch in today's market. Now, the other is a marketing strategy. Well, I'll show you everything that I'll do, our team will do to get your house sold quickly for top dollar, or get your home sold. I need to read the words, right? For top dollar and as quickly as possible. So then I would just ask, given the 2 options, which would you prefer to discuss first? The price of your house or my marketing approach? Now, guys, what did they say 100% of the time? Talk to me.
Price.
Price. Yet how do most realtors do it, Tom?
They talk about marketing first.
And they bore that poor seller to tears. They talk about their marketing plan. An hour and a half later, now we're going to start talking about price. I can only imagine that poor seller's like, oh my God, finally, I get to what I want to talk about, right? So I give them the choice, the illusion of control. So they always said 100% of the time it's price. So here's the script. So it's pricing strategy or marketing strategy. And they always chose pricing strategy. Now then I would say, and here's the script, our company has made a science of pricing property. Now there are 3 different pricing strategies to select from. And this goes back to the slide deck, okay? Number 1 is the retail strategy, where we start high, then we reduce the price, reduce the price, reduce the price. Finally move it over to the clearance rack to make it go away. I don't recommend that approach. Next is the less is more strategy, where we analyze those homes that have recently sold. And what we do is we dramatically undercut the market. Now, there's a lot of risk on your part. There's a lot of pressure on me to then get multiple offers on your property. Then with my negotiating skills, I'm going to work them back and forth, and bring it up to a more realistic price. The third, which is my preference, is the competitive pricing strategy, where we analyze those homes that have recently sold. We look at those active listings, and we price your property just slightly below what everybody else is asking. See, one thing I've learned is that all buyers buy through comparison shopping. Would you agree? Now, Mr. and Ms. Seller, I've never met a buyer who said, I only want to look at this one house, Shon. I want to buy it. Show me no more. This is the one. They're always going to buy the home that offers the best features and benefits for what they can afford. So I'd ask, of the 3 strategies, which seems to be the most comfortable for you? Is it the retail approach, start high and come down, end up selling below fair market value as a direct result, start low, negotiate back and forth to bring it up to a more realistic price, or the competitive approach? Which is most comfortable? Let's brainstorm this real quick. Of the 3 strategies, which do you think is best? Come on, talk to me, guys.
Multiple offers.
Multiple offers, so less is more strategy. I like that approach, no doubt. Talk to me, guys. Let's hear a juxtaposed position. Which is
All right.
best?
So, well, I want to get the most money out of my property, so I'll go with the retail strategy just because, I know the market's terrible right now, and still I want to get the most money.
Okay, perfect. Love that. Anybody else? Who likes a competitive approach? I'm just curious. See, 99% of the time, the sellers say competitive approach. They do. They really do. Sometimes they'll say less is more. Sometimes they'll say the retail approach. Yet when you have your scripts and dialogues, you know what to say, you know how to say it, you can handle those objections and take the property priced at the appropriate price. This is the major hurdle that once you overcome this, they'll list with you. And that's the point I want to get across today. Pricing should be your listing approach. Now, depending on market conditions, sometimes the retail approach works. Let's go back to 2020, 2021. Did the retail approach work? Yes, no, maybe? Talk to me. I mean, back in 2021, you'd do the comp research and you determine that this property is worth 800,000. The seller said, no, I want 900,000. So you take the listing at 900,000 and it sells for 1.1 million. It worked back then. So sometimes the retail approach is the best strategy, depending on market conditions. Yet I'll tell you right now, the retail approach, you're doing your seller a major disservice. See, the retail approach in today's market is kind of like ordering the caterers to show up 2 weeks after the wedding, okay? Meaning you're gonna get the most activity in today's market the first 2 weeks on the market. So a lot of people, they'll take an overpriced listing, they wait a couple of weeks, maybe a month, they ask the seller to reduce the price, and what they're doing is they're chasing the market downward. The buyer's perception is this property's market worn, nobody else wanted to buy it, it creates a stigmatism, what's wrong with it? And ultimately the seller accepts an offer below the value of the property because of this market worn type position. So I would encourage you, invest your time, your energy in the pricing of the property right up front. Then you're going to give them a little economic 101 lesson. Average list price to sales price ratio. What is it in your market area? What's the average sales price? Do the math with them. Explain, this is what's happening in the market. I don't make the market, I simply interpret the market. So what's happening with listing inventory? Is it up? Is it down? When inventory is up, well, demand goes down. When demand goes down, well, prices also come down. Or maybe listing inventory is down, which means demand goes up. And when demand goes up, prices go up, right? So depending on what's going on, you just modify the slide in your deck, really simple. Then I'm going to do some analysis of the market conditions with them and for them. And the whole point behind this is to get them to recognize that when they bring their property to market, they're entering a competition. They're competing for that buyer that's active in the market right now to buy their home versus the others that are active for sale. So by analyzing what is the number of months of inventory in the market based on absorption rates, which I've just done in the slide, it lets me make the point that they're entering a competition to get them realistic on pricing their property. Now, it's not that I don't want them to put as much cash in their pocket as possible. I do. Yet at the same time, I don't make the market. I simply interpret it. And I know that when I bring a property that's priced appropriately to market based on comparable sales, based on those that are active on the market, that I should be able to get this property sold quickly for top dollar. All right, pushback, reject it if it doesn't apply. Challenge me on this point if you choose to. So let's talk about winning the competition. So next we'll review the houses that you'll be competing with for a buyer. And after I've done that, active listings, based on the information you've reviewed, which house would you pick? Say, well, I'd pick this one. Well, tell me, why did you pick that one? Well, the average price per square foot, this one's lower than the others, or it had a pool where these others didn't. I want a 5-piece master bath. This one has that. Well, you're only proving the point that buyers always buy the house that they see that has the best value for what they want and what they need. Now, we want to win this competition. Wouldn't you agree? Then I'd review those homes that have recently sold, and I would pull out the buy-sell agreement, and I'd say, okay, now and by the way, we would nail down the price right then and there. Now we're going to go through the 4 major contingencies of the contract. So I'd pull out a blank copy of the buy-sell agreement. So that an offer comes in, you can move quickly and ensure that we can respond immediately. So I'd review just title, appraisal, inspection, loan approval. Just very quickly, took me all 5 minutes. I would leave the blank copy of the contract with them just in case they're very analytical. They could read through the contract. So when an offer does come in, they can respond very, very quickly. I talk about earnest money and what that looks like, that if we're awarded that as liquidated damages, we split it. Inspection, I ask them to do a pre-listing inspection and get that list of recommended repairs. Now, how many of you guys are doing pre-listing inspections? Anyone? And why do you think that's important? Talk to me.
To not come up with problems later that we could have resolved beforehand.
That's exactly right. See, when we can give them a copy of the pre-listing inspection, as well as paid invoices to the contractors who did the repairs that the inspector recommended, number one, it makes our property more sellable, right? And we know as realtors that if a deal is going to blow up, 95% of the time, it's because of inspection issues that we didn't see coming. Okay, so by getting your pre-listing inspection completed, it makes the property more sellable, and it's going to stay together once it goes under contract. Now we talk about the appraisal. Buyer pays for the appraisal. Now, here's why the retail approach doesn't work, by the way. If the buyer's loan officer, they're going to order the appraisal for the house. If the appraiser cannot justify the value after reviewing the comparable sales, will be forced to renegotiate with the buyer. So this just gives more power to the competitive approach and pricing. I think you guys would agree. Now, the next step of the process is loan approval. This means your buyer has full loan commitment. We really have a reason to celebrate because it's generally the final condition of any offer. Now, I want to brag about my team just a little bit. You're always working with a specialist that benefits to your knowledge, availability, and communication. Now, here's the traditional realtor model, where the realtor is kind of the center of the universe. They're juggling so many balls that they drop one, go to pick it up, all the others are going to fall to the ground. Now, I see a major problem with this model, so I created a new one, where I take you, my client, and make you the center of our universe. I've surrounded you with a team of specialists to make certain that we can get you to the closing table with the best price, the fewest hassles, and the time frame that you desire. And when we're successful at that, we're going to ask you, who do you know that's thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate right now? So who do you know right now? Maybe friends, people from your church or social media. When you think of somebody, will you call me? And I know we're running short on time here, Tom, so I'm just getting through this as fast as I can. I use this where buyers come from to sell against that seller who wanted an open house every Saturday and Sunday, because only 1% of the time does the buyer actually buy the home of an open house that they toured, right? So I just leverage this to get them to comply with my marketing system. And then I talk about added value, what they got when they listed with me. And then I would just simply talk about the serious seller program. They're willing to complete a qualified home inspection prior to listing the property for sale. Complete all necessary repairs, including pest inspection, a clue report that we can provide to the potential buyers, a home warranty, staging the property prior to selling, listing rather, and professional photography, as well as floor plan created. Now, what's in it for the seller with the certified serious seller program is they fetch a higher price, smoother transaction, gives them differentiation in the market, reduces the marketing time, and gives the buyer agent, the buyer, you and I, confidence in the process. All right, so common listing presentation objections, guys. And I don't have time to get through all of these, yet you've heard them before. And you've got to know what to say, you've got to know how to say it. So with that said, that's the end of the listing presentation, gang. I was in and out within 25 minutes with a signed commitment to sell. Now, Tom, do I have just one more minute?
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. I want to pull up this commitment to sell agreement. And I developed this when I was consulting for an organization, the Lance Loken Group. Surely you know of Lance Loken, right, Tom?
100%.
Yeah, he and his team last year closed over 4,000 transactions. His number one listing specialist on the team took 199 listings. Okay, so when they got to the point that it's time to complete the paperwork, the contract, and guys, I know you're with me on this, that there is nothing more excruciating than sitting across the table from a seller as they complete the seller property disclosure form. And they're asking you questions. If you open your mouth and you tell them what to do and it's the wrong box that they check or the wrong answer that they gave, well, then you're liable just like the seller would be, right? So rather than going through the entire listing contract with them, what I encourage the Lance Loken team to do is just a one-page commitment to sell. So it outlines today's date, the seller's names, property address, the list price. Then it already outlines the commissions, 3% to the listing agent, 3% to the buyer agent, and a 6% total commission. Now you see the paragraph down at the bottom. This letters to provide notice of my intent to sell the above referenced property using the Loken Group as my contracted real estate agent. I understand that the required listing paperwork will be sent to me via email within 24 to 48 hours for completion. However, by signing this letter, I'm committing to listing my home with the Loken Group and can begin the listing process by scheduling with the Loken Group's stager. So the seller would sign it, listing agent signs it. As soon as it's signed, they snap a picture of it, send it over to the VA team. The VA team puts together the listing paperwork and emails that to the seller. Now think about it. Most objections come when the agent is presenting the listing contract to the seller. Now, if you can avoid that, why not? And then you send it to them electronically. How often do you get an electronic document for your signature that you just initial, sign, initial, sign, get through it as fast as you can? I know I do, and many of the sellers do as well. So it just sidesteps all of those common objections that you're going to get. And I would encourage you to take all that listing paperwork, do it electronically, and solve that issue with a one-page commitment to sell. In fact, I'm going to very quickly, bear with me 1 second. Oh, did I share my screen for that? I don't think I did.
No,
Shoot, guys, I'm so sorry. Let me just show you what that looks like. And I'm going to post this to the chat so you guys could implement it quickly.
okay,
I made that
awesome.
rookie mistake there, buddy. I'm so sorry.
No worries. So you'll be able to share your slide deck?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. No doubt. I'm going to have to do a couple of modifications to it before I send it over to you,
Okay.
Tom. Yet I'd encourage you to just share it with anybody and everybody. Okay, so can you see this document now?
Yes.
So commitment is to sell, as it doesn't get any easier than this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this one-page commitment to sell to the chat. It's going to save you time on your listing presentation. It's going to eliminate a lot of the common objections that you're receiving from sellers when you go through the listing paperwork, and then you just send it over to them electronically for their signatures.
Well, this is awesome. So I know we've run out of time. I know that you could go on for at least 2 or 3 more hours, adding amazing value. Shon, if anyone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
I think the easiest thing to do here, I'm going to just put my direct cell number.
Okay.
Feel free to call me anytime, guys. Drop me a text if I don't answer, and I will get back to you just as soon as possible. There we go. All right, that's also
Awesome.
just to the chat. Just write down my cell phone number, guys. If you're stuck, if you maybe want some help, if you want to just reach out, you have a quick question, just drop me a text, give me a phone call. If I can answer, I promise you I will. Otherwise, just text me and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. This is my purpose. This is my why. I just love helping people. I love seeing you increase your production. And what's good for you is good for EXP. What's good for EXP is good for all of us. So let's just keep adding value to one another, helping each other through this process. Additionally, there's a ton of free resources on my website as well. You can go to iconcoaching.com, click on the resources tab. You're going to see the 6 common listing presentation objections, all of the rebuttals fully transcribed. The buyer presentation is there. The buyer objection handling packet is there. All kinds of things, open house strategy, expireds for sell by owner scripts, all of it's there. Just download it all free of charge. And
Awesome.
make that happen.
Well, Shon, you're the best of the best. So what a great time to take Shon's recommendations to have more conversations. It's Christmas. It's the holidays. It's new. Have those conversations. It's so easy right now. So y'all got your inspiration. Time to put it in the perspiration. No call next week because that is Christmas. Merry Christmas, y'all. We're 1 week from Christmas, and we're super excited because we are going to thrive in 2025. And our next call, we have a special guest, and what he's going to share is how to open a can of whoop ass and kill it in 2025. So thanks, y'all. Love y'all. Merry
My
Christmas.
pleasure. Hey, Tom, just real quick, I did just post a PDF to the chat. Why list during the holidays is top 11 reasons, guys. If you don't have that document, just download that as quick as you can. And this will give you strategy to make sure that people will list with you today instead of waiting till after the first of the year.
Oh, that's perfect.
All right.
And we'll put that in our Atomic Habits Facebook page. So thanks, Shon. Thanks, y'all. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Take care.
Thanks. Bye now.